Good Thursday to you, Mike Naso here with the latest on the tropics. We have a lot to talk about. On the left side of the screen there, you can see Hurricane K. K is weakening, but it is making landfall or coming ashore just about now along the areas there of the Baja, California, scraping up along the coast, very close to land. Expected to bring heavy rain to the southwestern U.S. We'll talk about K. We also have Hurricane Earl, which is on its way to Category 3 strength. Once it becomes a Category 3 or above, that is a major hurricane. So far in the Atlantic, we've had 5 storms, Alex to Earl, and 2 hurricanes, Danielle and Earl would be the first major hurricane of this season. We do have hurricane watch in effect for Bermuda. It's going to come pretty darn close. Danielle is post-tropical up here in the North Atlantic, far away from any land. We're not going to have to deal with it. And we have 2 features of note that could develop. This is a high likelihood, although it's looking rather disheveled. It should remain out. And this area here is a lower chance, although it is much further south, and this would be a concern further down the road for land areas. I'll talk about that. Let's start with Earl. Here we go as of 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Hurricane Earl was at 29.0 north, 65.0 west, winds of 105. So again, once it crosses 115, 120, it'll be a Category 3 major hurricane, and it is forecast to become a Category 4 with winds of about 130 miles an hour. Very dangerous. Moving north-northeast at 13, and you see it does have that eastward component to its track. And because of that, there's virtually no way it's going to move to the west. I'll show you why in a second. But you can see we do have a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch in effect for the island of Bermuda. You know, for a little island out there, Bermuda, you guys get smacked a lot. A lot. Here's the radar out of Bermuda, and even though it looks a little prehistoric for 2022, there's the eye of Hurricane Earl, the eye wall building there. The hurricane hunters were noting that it has a pretty good wraparound. I'll show you on the satellite here. You can see that convection wrapping around, kind of one band around the eye, sort of a snake coiling, and that is indicative of a Category 2 hurricane, usually with the ragged eye and winds over 100 miles an hour. As that tightens, we will see it get stronger. That little green area right there, that is Bermuda right here. And again, this looks rather monstrous compared to the island of Bermuda, but the wind field is right in here and the system's moving north-northeast, so it's likely that it's going to clip you, and that's why you're under those warnings right now. Now, the reason that Earl is not going to hit the United States, you can see this trough here moving off the eastern seaboard. This is a protective barrier. We've had many a disastrous hurricane averted, dozens and dozens and dozens, just in the couple of decades I've been tracking. And that's because of the troughiness off the East Coast. If you did not have this trough and you had ridging and high pressure, you would have the hurricane sliding into the East Coast. So be thankful that that front moved through. Things got a little cooler, a little wetter in the eastern U.S., but that is saving us from the wrath of Earl. Danielle, no longer a problem. Post-tropical cyclone Danielle with winds of 65 moving north-northeast at 14. It's going to loop around out here and come very close to Spain and Portugal, but by then it should dissipate. Other than that, high seas, high swells. You can see this is a heck of a storm, but there's virtually no tropical characteristics anymore. It's pretty much just an open North Atlantic gale at this point. Now here's the Atlantic Basin over the last 7 days. You can see since September 1st, we had our wave out here. This was Invest 91L. We had a wave out here, and we had some troughiness and waves out in the North Atlantic, and you can see how they progressed. The wave in the North Atlantic became Hurricane Danielle, and then we had Hurricane Earl. The wave out in the Eastern Atlantic dissipated, and now we are dealing with the 2 waves in the Atlantic, one here a high chance for development, and one here a lower chance. Now the motion of them should be west-northwest. This one with the high chance is almost certainly going to move out, and you can see Earl moving out. They're going to move out. This one here is much further south, which normally would be more favorable, but this year things are acting weird. Now here's the first wave, and it looks rather naked right now. But there's clearly a center of circulation. Whether that's totally at the surface or not, I don't know. But until some thunderstorms blow up around it, it is not going to be classified. But it is a high likelihood. You can see the wind shear. Look at that. Look at the clouds blowing towards it. A naked center getting sheared, not favorable. And there are the models. clearly turning it out. So if this system develops, it would likely just be what we call a name waster. And the next name is Fiona. Fiona was the replacement name for Francis back in 2004. Hurricane Francis was a hurricane developed off Africa in September, but it took that devastating track right into Florida. You know what was interesting? In 2003, 2002 or 3, the nation of France said that they were offended by the name Francis being on the name list. Never mind that it's a female name for years. They were offended, so they said, okay, we'll remove it from the list after we use it one more time in 2004. And it ended up having its retirement warranted anyways with its devastating strike on Florida. So the name replacement was Fiona. That was used in 2010. That was used in 2016. And this could be Fiona. And I'll tell you, if it moves out and doesn't bother anybody, we would see that name again in 6 years. Here's the other wave. Again, this is one that I would think would really be something to watch. Unlike this wave that's naked as a jaybird out here, we have further south, more moisture, good rotation. If this scurries on to the west or west-northwest, you would think it would develop. In fact, the long-range GFS model does not develop it, but if you watch where it goes, it takes a track, follow the line, like that, straight into Miami. Of course, it doesn't show anything but a little green spot, so the models aren't that crazy about it, but the setup would seem to keep it west towards land, and that's why I'm so concerned about it. It is September, it's the heart of hurricane season, it's got a spin to it, it's much further south. Watch this one as it moves west. Maybe it'll do nothing, maybe it'll peter out like the rest. This one certainly could develop, but it would move out. Now let's move on to Hurricane K in the Pacific. Here's the latest on Hurricane K as of 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Is that MDT, Mountain Daylight? It's at 25.8 north, 113.8 west. Winds of 85, so it had been up to a Category 2 hurricane. It's been weakening down to a Category 1, moving north-northwest at 15, paralleling, scraping the coastline here, and it will likely make landfall right on this little spit of land. Puerto Magdalena and San Carlos, Baja, California Sur, those areas there in the Baja, California, they stick out, and so the eye will probably cross that and be a landfall, but after that, it's going to loop back around and dissipate somewhere off the California-Mexican coastline. The key message is, number one, as the center of K passes just offshore, heavy rainfall, flash flooding, landslides, the Baja California Peninsula, portions of mainland northwest Mexico through Saturday morning, and then flash urban and small stream flooding across southern California beginning on Friday, and that could cause problems even into southwest Arizona. Number two, hurricane conditions, and that's why there are hurricane warnings out there for the Baja, expected along areas of the Baja, California, and west central Baja later today through the evening. Hurricane warning is in effect, and then tropical storm conditions already occurring across portions of the Baja and spreading northward where a tropical storm warning is in effect. There's the rainfall map. Again, 6 to 10 inches in some areas. That's the main threat with K. It's not really the wind. Even if it makes landfall there over the Baja, we're going to have heavy, heavy rain spreading on up into California and Arizona. There's the satellite imagery, looking a little ragged, but still a hurricane and still bursting on the right side. And wherever you have that onshore flow, that is where you've got the wind and rain and water. The flood threat, at least moderate. Areas near close to San Diego and Yuma, you guys are under the gun there. What did Johnny Carson tell David Letterman years ago in California? The mudslides are putting out the fires. It's about right. You can see the radar, pretty nifty radar, showing the rainfall there over Tijuana, heading up towards Yuma and San Diego. So it's going to be a wet ride as K pools to the north. Looking at the national radar picture, there's the radar, San Diego, areas of Yuma, even Tucson getting in on the action from the outer fringes of K, and a rainy day there in Florida. So that'll do it for the tropics. I'm Mike Naso with the latest. We're going to watch Hurricane K, Hurricane Earl near Bermuda, and then our systems off Africa and see what happens. I'll talk to you guys next time.